Welcome back to the Done Deal Show. Hit the like buttons and make sure you are subscribing. And if you don't want to miss any notifications, any updates on transfer stories, rumors, breaking news throughout the course of this summer, join the Football Terrace Telegram group chat. You can scan the QR code on the screen. There is a link in our description below that you can find. It says the Football Terrace notification GC. I'll also post it into the live comments section as well, and I'll pin that just in case you can't scan the QR code. But you really should join it because YouTube doesn't like sending out notifications. Big breaking news in the last 12 to 24 hours to bring you about Mckenna to Chelsea. An approach has been made. The manager himself is up for the move. Talk of De Zerbi to Manchester United is also starting to surface at the same time. And breaking news in the last few moments that will bring you about Chelsea targeting Motta, who is, of course, about to join Juventus. I want to get your views. I want to get your opinions on all these stories today. There's no better place to be. We're also going to open up the lines for you to phone in and tell us what you think and tell us what you feel. But the big breaking news today that we're going to start with is Mckenna. And this news came out yesterday that Chelsea have informed Ipswich of their interest in Kieran Mckenna, who is their preferred candidate for the head coach position. The club is confident that Mckenna will opt for Chelsea over offers from Brighton and Manchester United. This news was also met by Kieran Mckenna, who is, of course, linked to Man United, has sealed his approval for Chelsea to advance their approach. He is enthusiastic about the Chelsea job and has welcomed being included to their shortlist. So Mckenna appears to be up for this move. Mckenna is keen to move to Chelsea, and with Chelsea stating, and this is what's really interesting here, where we ask the question, is it close? Chelsea have stated that they are working around the clock and having multiple meetings as they work to swiftly and efficiently appoint Mauricio Pochettino's successor as head coach. And they are pushing this head coach narrative very, very hard indeed, Chelsea. Every single media outlet they brief, they are making it abundantly clear, you say head coach. We don't want to hear words like manager. We want it to be a head coach, because essentially that is the position that we are pushing out. To Chelsea fans, I want your instant reaction. There was talk yesterday that the Leicester City manager Enzo was the primary target. This comes from some fairly credible sources, but it's also transpired that Enzo has rejected some advances from other teams. He is settled at Leicester and he wants to continue there at this time. There was also talk yesterday even that Thomas Frank had said at this particular moment, I'm not interested in the Chelsea job. Breaking news in the last 20 minutes comes from Graham Bailey, who has stated that Chelsea have fouled, or they did foul, with an approach for Thiago Motta, as he had already agreed to join Juve. So some will say that's a Chelsea rejection, but he'd already agreed to go to Juve. And he said, look, I'm not going to change my mind now. I'm not going to go back on my word to Juve. So it does appear they've approached some other managers. Doesn't mean they were all above Kieran Mckenna in the pecking order. I think some of these situations may have been inquiries, and it's important that Chelsea make numerous inquiries in case the Mckenna deal doesn't go through. And imagine you spend 3 weeks chasing Mckenna just for the deal not to happen, and you've done no groundwork elsewhere. So there is no reason at this particular time to not believe the stories that Mckenna is number one or number two. Remember, some outlets will get this different, we'll get different information from others. But Mckenna does appear to be on the list. Another outlet here shared that Chelsea have notified Ipswich Town of their interest in Kieran Mckenna. He is their favourite candidate. They believe Mckenna will choose them over Brighton and Manchester United. So this story now, as I say, beginning to really circulate, really beginning to pick up pace. And I want to gauge your views and I want to gauge your opinions. There's a super chat here from my guy, Jerome, that says, Chelsea Football Club are a disgrace. I swear Poch deserved at least one more season. I hope they get Mckenna and get relegated. Do you know what's interesting about it, Jerome? I understand So I look at this from both sides, and I want to be really fair to Chelsea here. If they feel the relationship has broken down internally, I don't think the performances and the data is the reason that he has been fired. I don't believe it. It just doesn't resonate with me. It doesn't make sense to me personally. That's not the reason, in my humble opinion. I believe it's because there's been a breakdown in relationship. Now, he may up front, Poch, have agreed to the terms that he will have little say and little control over the over what's going on with transfers. That may very well be true. That may very well be the case. So for that, we can't. None of us can really dispute that because none of us know. But maybe what's happened over the course of the season is that he's realized this isn't going to work for me. Although I agreed to it, now that I'm working in the situation, it isn't going to. It's not tangible for me to continue. So he's challenging it. He's asking for change. He's asking for things to be done differently. And Chelsea are saying, no, we don't want to change. We believe we started to see results towards the end of the campaign. We want those results to continue. So we're going to continue with this model. So if the model isn't changing too much and Poch and them fall out, then he has to leave. Where the red flag is, though, if I'm going to be very, very, very blunt, the red flag is, well, they're now looking for a very different type of manager again. Somebody with less experience, somebody with less skin in the game. Maybe it's because they're more malleable. Maybe it's because they're more moldable. They feel it's going to be easy to work with them. Again, that's me being generous. The other side is they're changing tact again. They're going in a new direction again, which means you start all over. So, look, the proof is going to be in the pudding. I think there's some negative points of view on this. I think there's some positive angles to look at as well. But what I will agree with, if you've got a bad working relationship between the board and the manager, you should not, in my humble opinion, continue with it, regardless of results, in my view. This here says Poch to United. Well, look, you say Poch to United, that could very well happen. We'll move on to Man United a little bit later. Kate here says Mckenna, Roman must be crying in his coffee. Bizarre appointment and a clear indication of how far Chelsea have dropped. Do you know what? I get that it seems bizarre. I understand that it seems bizarre. I get it. For me, I don't think Kieran Mckenna is a bad coach. I think he's a very good coach. I think he's a very, very good manager to be unearthed. I think he's a very good manager to be unearthed. My concern with him joining Chelsea or Manchester United, because he's linked to both, Man United could still end up with him, is the environment, is the structure, is the way the club run conducive to help him develop at the same time. If you bring him in as manager, if you say, I'm going to get behind him, getting behind him means you have to understand that he's young, he's fresh, he's going to be naive at times, and there's a learning curve for him. You can't say, I'm going to support him, and then say he has to deliver like Pep. You can't say, I'm going to support him. Say he needs to be ready-made, because he isn't. And you know that ahead of time. So if you're going to support him, you have to support the reality of the situation and not a utopian outcome. So for me, I get why people say it's bizarre. But maybe it's bizarre because they've gone from Tuchel to Potter to Lampard to Poch, then to Mckenna. If they would have come in as a club and said, we're going to buy a lot of young players, we're going to hire an up-and-coming manager, and we're going to go on this kind of youth growth project, and they'd stuck to it, maybe it would make more sense. So I'm being really fair here, and I'm not going to sit here and start laughing at Chelsea because they're linked to Mckenna. Man United are. And again, I'm not against Man United bringing him in. But if we bring him in, my mentality towards him would be different to if we went and signed Antonio Conte. Because they're at different stages of their career. And I feel in life sometimes your expectations must reflect reality as opposed to your utopian dream outcome. A Hansi Flick to Barcelona. Here we go. Yes. I mean, now we can see a lot of people going, a Hansi Flick, why don't other clubs get him? Because he wanted Barcelona. And listen, why not? One of the biggest clubs in the world. It's a real good opportunity for him to... He did brilliantly at Bayern Munich. But this is a good opportunity for him to show people it's not just Munich that I can perform at. moving forward from this, what's going on with De Zerbi? I see a lot of Chelsea fans say Mckenna and all these other stories are a smokescreen for De Zerbi. Now, I'm not going to say that can't be true, because of course anything can happen in the transfer window. I'm not naive to that fact. But what Fabrizio Romano has posted today in his exclusive column on Caught Offside is that De Zerbi would love to work in the Premier League again, as he is linked with Man United, but hasn't spoken with Chelsea. That comes from Fabrizio Romano. Says that as of now, there is no credible link to the Chelsea job as of right now. What is interesting is there were some stories yesterday saying that Roberto De Zerbi dreams of becoming the Manchester United manager. Now, again, I want to ensure that I am not being dragged down the confirmation bias alley, and I want to be fair. There are question marks over De Zerbi. There will be pressure on him, but he's a manager that I personally rate. I would love to see Man United give our new project to him. I genuinely do. I understand the criticism that he gets, but what he has done at Brighton is excellent. I actually heard someone, I'm not too sure what podcast it was on, say Brighton's model is unsustainable. And I thought to myself, how is that the case? How long have they been in the Premier League now? Is it 4, 5, 6 years since their promotion? We complain as Premier League fans that the promoted clubs get relegated too easy. It's too difficult for them. But yet a team that's managed to stay up, by the way, who was a minnow of a club, that stayed up for 4, 5, 6 years, got into Europe, played some of the best football in the league pound for pound, we say that it's unsustainable. A club that size, with their facilities, their finances, staying in the Premier League for that amount of time, I feel like is the definition of stability. I really do. And what De Zerbi has done there is excellent. But I think what's happened with them, reading between the lines, reading the stories, is De Zerbi views it as, look, we could really create a potent and dangerous team here, but you keep selling my best players. Please, can we buy some more established individuals? And please, if somebody let's not sell Ferguson. I want to develop him. Let's not sell whoever the next superstar is. Can we please keep them? Can we please give them new contracts? I want to build a team that can win. I think Brighton have said it's not that we don't want to win. Now, a cynic will say they're just there for the money. No, Brighton want to build up even more financial stability before they start committing to that project to win, because essentially a club with Brighton's finances trying to win the major trophies now would be the definition of going for broke. You would have to invest a lot of money. You'd have to create a lot of debt. And if it doesn't yield the results that bring in additional money, you're left with a big financial black hole, which could knock you back 20 years. So I understand what De Zerbi wants to do. Equally, I understand the pushback from Brighton. So they've parted ways. It makes perfect sense. They've actually been listening to De Zerbi, though, about potential replacements. So the relationship still appears to be fairly good. But I love that attitude from De Zerbi. He said, look, I respect your model. I understand what you're doing as a club, but I want more. A club like Man United could help give that to him. So from that perspective, him saying I want control over transfers would work at Man United. Also, it would work at Chelsea. My concern around De Zerbi is if he wants to buy his players, doesn't want a sporting director, doesn't want people running the show. I've seen Klopp, when he had less control, won more major trophies than when he had more control at Liverpool. I believe that most modern day managers are trained to be head coaches. If, for instance, the likes of De Zerbi are saying, look, it isn't about I want all the players on top of my list. It's just I don't want to lose my best players. That's more understandable. But I hope it's true that De Zerbi loves the idea of coming to Man United. I hope it's true that Man United go after him. I hope it's true that we bring him in. I believe there's a top-class manager in there. And I understand there's been defensive frailties with Brighton, but I had this conversation with Matt in the group chat, who comes on the show, he's the Arsenal fan, who sort of laughed at their defensive record. I mean, it's so funny that you say that. So funny that you say that as an Arsenal fan. When you didn't win the league in the 22-23 season, the reason was you lost one centre-back to injury in Saliba. And bringing in Holding dropped the standard of your team tenfold. But yet a club Brighton size that doesn't have defenders anywhere near the level of Saliba's, and they have injuries across the board in front of the defense and in the defense. Now you're laughing at their defensive record. Doesn't make sense. So if Rob Holding destroys your team, that's one substandard player destroys your whole team. Why, when a club the size of Brighton, who pound for pound have a squad well below your quality, why are you laughing at their defensive record? Now, I understand the caveat to that of where De Zerbi should adapt, should play more defensively. That isn't what he does. That isn't what he does. He plays expansive football. I am very intrigued, and I'm willing for the experiment to be with Man United. I'm very intrigued to see how he does with a better squad, with a bigger budget, and with better players. If indeed he comes into Man United 2 years in, we play beautiful football, but we leak goals, we leak like a broken fridge, then I'll hold my hands up and say he's not the guy. And we move on from that point. But for me personally, I think he is a quality manager in the making, or head coach in the making. He just needs the opportunity to prove it. I really like him. And I know a lot of people attack the tacticos because the tacticos like him, but I don't think you can consider me a tactico. I don't think anyone puts me into that bracket, but I think he's very, very good indeed. When people say De Zerbi ain't that guy, I would love you to break that down. So I can tell you why I think he is that guy. And I talk about his style of football. I talk about how he improves players. I can speak about his meticulous attention to detail in training. You can anecdotally listen to players that have been managed by him at different clubs, and they speak about the joy, the joy that it is to play for him and the dedication that he shows. So there's a lot of evidence as to why I think he's the man. Tell me why he isn't. And don't just say gut feeling. Don't just say I don't like him. Don't just come out with, well, look, Brighton went backwards this year. We understand why Brighton went backwards. We understand that. But I've seen Jurgen Klopp win league titles and then go backwards with the same team. Doesn't mean he isn't a brilliant manager. I've seen Klopp's been relegated as a manager in his career. Are we saying he isn't one of the best in the world? Come on now. This is what's crazy about it. I need something tangible that makes a lot of sense. So let me know what it is. I don't want to hear this. No, he ain't. It's great. You don't think he is. Tell me why he isn't great. I'd love to actually hear a detailed answer to this. This here says, recency bias is too much of a thing in football, Terry. People base their opinions on feelings and not logic. It's the same with company going to Bayern. They probably see something in him we can't. Well, it's again, I've seen people say standards are on the floor because Vincent Kompany has gone to Bayern Munich. I disagree. I think there's a very, very capable coach in him, but he's coaching at a club who don't have the budget to buy the players to bring that style of football to life, to make that style of football. And managers have different arcs in their careers. They have different arcs in their careers, and not everybody's first job is Real Madrid or Barcelona, and they're amazing. The Peps and the Dans are an anomaly. I see people last night using Gasperini and Atalanta's trophy as a way of attacking Arteta, as an example. Oh, I've seen people attack De Zerbi with it. Like, Gasperini's 60 years old. I think he's 60 years old. I want to make sure I get that right. I swear he's 60 years old. I lied. He's 66 years old. And he has been managing. His first managerial job was 21 years ago. So he's 66 years old. He's been managing for 21 years. He finally wins a trophy. And by the way, I think he has brought great stability to Atalanta. They are looked at as one of the best run football clubs in Serie A. They are an example to bigger and smaller clubs right across Europe. He is an integral part of that machine. And he was seen as a very good manager without the trophy, especially in Italian quarters. He wins the trophy and people go, see, that's why Arteta's a bum. That's why De Zerbi ain't serious, because Gasperini's out here winning trophies. Gasperini is what you think De Zerbi is. The man's 66 years old. And equally, he was loved and respected by his Italian peers, respected by the Italian media, respected in Italian football before winning that trophy. Now, I understand trophies are important, and I don't want to remove them. And he doesn't sit on the same table as the greats who have won multiple trophies. But this idea that you're a complete bum and nothing you've done in football gets any recognition until you win a trophy is wrong. Because everybody in football recognized how good he was. Now, all it is, people go, Terry, you're being a hypocrite because you said that Harry Kane needs trophies. Yes, he needs trophies to sit on that legends table. I never said he needs trophies to not be considered a brilliant football player. There's a fundamental difference. Nuance to the conversation. I know you understand it in the football terrace community. I know you all get it because you're the best out there and you got brains. But there's a difference in the standings. Not everyone's going to be a legend. Equally, 66 years old versus people that are in their 40s. Like, I get your point. In 20 years' time, if De Zerbi hasn't won a trophy, we can have it. But what, I mean, has De Zerbi actually won it? I mean, he was about to win the league in the Ukraine until it all went off over there. Has he actually won anything in his career? Genuine question. I don't know if he has. I haven't actually checked. I should have checked, but I haven't. What has he won? He won the Coppa Italia Lega Pro. I don't know what that is. And he won. Yeah, that's it. That's all he's won. I mean, and he won the Super Cup in the Ukraine. So he's won a couple of smaller trophies as an example. But I think he can win major ones. I think he can. Simple as that for me. This here says managers should hold advisory roles in transfer object specs and with valid arguments with a veto right. Manager's job is to handle and manage the given squad. I think they should have an element of control and power. The veto element is interesting because that then gives them overall power. And I'm not too, depends how long you've been at the club. I think that power should be given to you the longer you're there and the more successful you are and how good your track record is. So if I run the club, if I own the club and my manager says, Terry, I want a veto so I can say no to any transfer, or I can override the board and say yes to any transfer, I'd say no to begin with, unless you had a phenomenal track record of doing that. If your eye test, your talent ID, your ability to put that all together and make your transfers work, then I would give it. So if you came in and you had a great reputation internally of doing that in the football world, I'd let you have it. If you didn't, I'd say not right now. And then over time, I'll go, you can have this one. You can have that one. If you've got a good success rate, you get more control and power. That is how it probably should be done, in my personal opinion. Jason here says De Zerbi wants United. That is according to the reports that we have shown today, Jason. Terry, would you take Xavi at United? He's left Barca. Look, I don't know enough about Xavi as a manager to have a when he won the league last year, everyone was like, wow, we won the league. You know, that's a great thing. So he won the league, and you should look at that as a very potent and a very big thing. But then this year, I've been told he struggled. A lot of people have slagged off his football. I also look at, I don't know enough about him. And that isn't me sitting on the fence. It's a genuine question. I've heard good things, I've heard bad things. But I'm going to give the same answer that I've given. I'll just turn my fan on. It gets very hot in here with the computer's on. I'm going to give the same answer I have given all about my board, my new board this whole time. I'm going to trust the decisions they make in the medium to short term. My expectations will change depending upon who that manager is and what the plan of the club is to do in terms of the time scale of delivering the standards of which I want. Because, of course, if you go for a project where you're just going to buy young players, you bring in a young, inexperienced manager and you're all going to grow together, I believe that will take longer than saying we're going to go and spend £500-600 million over 2 seasons. We're going to try and buy the best players in the world, and Carlo Ancelotti or Conte is going to be our manager. My expectations for those 2 different projects will have a different time scale, because it's, you know, if me and you, Anthony, go to the gym, we start in the gym at the same time, and we're going to be judged on how quickly we get into shape. We're both going to eat good. We're both going to train twice a day, but you're taking steroids and testosterone, and I'm taking 0 supplements. The expectation on how quickly you get in shape versus me should be different, because the variables are different. So yeah, it all depends on what we do, but I'm not adverse to him coming in. I'm not like, oh my God, I'm going to cry my eyes out. No. You have to be thick to want De Zerbi over Enrique. Well, this is the problem, Cash. Cash. I haven't said, I don't know what anyone in the comments has said. I've not been offered the choice. So saying I like De Zerbi is not me saying I want him over Luis Enrique. Unless you're talking to somebody in the comment sections. Thank you, Jay, for becoming an official Academy member of the Football Terrace. Darius Palmer here says, see, Terry, he walks away from Brighton. Standards FC should be praising him. But this is it. Standards FC pick and choose what they have standards about. Standards FC will say that Bayern Munich, for years, I would say Bayern Munich are a serious club because they sack managers for not meeting standards. And they pushed it all year about Tuchel. Now, sack him, hasn't met standards. They then employ a company and they say they're not serious. So are they serious or not serious? Are they clowns or have they got high standards? And if they've got high standards and they've employed company, maybe that tells me your understanding of football isn't that good. Standard FC are very, very subjective and emotional people. They say they don't base their decisions on emotion. It's all based on emotion. It's based on who they like and who they don't like. It's as simple and as straightforward as that for me. But there we go. Look at this. My guy, Mr. Sham here, 22 months as a member. Thank you very, very much indeed. Let's have a little look here at some of your comments. De Zerbi would be a perfect coach for Man United. He would bring in so much discipline. What's everyone saying? Brighton was rocked with injuries. Sol Caicedo, Trossard, and the Liverpool guy. Yeah, they also got rid of Cucurella. If you actually look at their players, I was looking at the other day, all Brighton. Sorry, my mistake. All Brighton transfers. I was looking at this the other day. And in the last few years, okay, they have sold. So they have sold Caicedo, McAllister, Sanchez. That's sort of their main players that left the club last year. Year before that. So why is it doing it? See, I want all of them. Okay, here we go. Sorry. My mistake. I clicked on the wrong page. I don't want to have to keep changing the date. I want to be able to scroll down. So they got rid of those players. Year before that, they lost Cucurella, they lost Basuma, and they lost Trossard as an example. Year before that, they lost Dan Burn, they lost Ben White. They actually, I mean, this is probably a mistake from them, really, but they sold Eucharist for £1 million. That's probably a little, you look back now, that's probably a little bit of a mistake from them to have sort of gone out and done that. A couple of years before that, this was before they were anywhere near, like, sort of, so they got rid of Knockard to, you know, who was one of their better players as an example. And it's happened many times. So you go through and you actually think about this. How much better would Brighton be if they would have pumped, if they'd had more money? I don't blame them for not doing it. But say they kept Dan Burn, they kept Gyökeres, okay? They kept Ben White, they kept Cucurella. Forget how poor Basuma has been at Spurs. He wasn't at Brighton. If they keep Basuma, if they keep Trossard, if they keep Caicedo, McAllister, and Sanchez, if they keep all those players, like bigger clubs with more money would have pretty much done, are you telling me that De Zerbi would have taken that team backwards this year? Don't believe it. You may think it, but I do not believe it. And by the way, my tune on De Zerbi won't change if he goes to Chelsea. Not on your Nelly. 110% won't change. Look, I want to take some calls on these stories today. De Zerbi to Manchester United. Mckenna to Chelsea, really picking up pace according to the media outlets. Make sure you hit the like and the share button. The call-in link, I've now posted it into the live comment section. I'm going to pin it to the live comment section as well so you guys can see it. If you want to bell us and have your say. Just to remind you, Kieran Mckenna is up for the move, and Chelsea have informed Ipswich of their interest in Mckenna, who is the preferred candidate according to multiple sources. And according to reports coming out of Italy, De Zerbi dreams of becoming the Manchester United manager. Give us your thoughts. Give us your feelings. We're going to be taking some calls momentarily on this. What does it say? Lee, I don't know who you're talking to when you say Lee. Maybe someone in the comments called Lee, the Chelsea fan. It says here, Lee, it's attacking, high pressing, playing out from the back. I watch Ipswich. I don't watch much Championship. What is McKenna's style? What's his ID? Listen, he does. He plays very, very what I would call futuristic style football. Very progressive, very good on the eye, very fast paced, very, very good football indeed. It looks. Now, that's been in League One and in the Championship. Will it translate to the Premier League? Potentially not. If you have a squad like Burnley had last year, because the football company played was really good in the Championship. But if you suddenly got a squad that's at Chelsea's level, man could cook. KJ's here with me. Matt's here with me. Ches is here with me. I want to go to Ches first, if you're there, mate, because the news is Mckenna is the number one choice, according to some reports today. What's your take if he's the guy to replace Pochettino?
Yeah, I said to you, 2 days ago now, to you and KJ, the only two I'll be happy with were RDZ, De Zerbi, or Mckenna, because they've both done exceptional jobs relative to where they are. So McKenna's obviously got a proven track record of, bringing up his teams. He has high aspirations, like I said before. The fact he promoted twice back-to-back is cold, by the way. He's one of 4 managers to ever do it. I like the fact that he could save Ipswich and he's willing to take that risk. And unlike other managers we've got in the past, like Potter, he's actually achieved something recently. So he's got that in the back of his mind and in his belly, the fire in his belly. But what I would say is that, will it work for Chelsea? Will it work for the Premier League? We don't know. So obviously, if all managers are the risk, but when you get a manager from the Championship or from other leagues and it's good style of football, will it translate? We don't know. So that's the only thing. And on top of that, as you and KJ will testify, the pressures of Chelsea are bigger than ever. It was big before, it's bigger now, because we need to get Champions League football. We need to play good style of football. We need to get a trophy, ideally. So it's not only just the tangibles, the intangibles. But he doesn't strike me as a character who wouldn't be able to handle it, because the way he carries himself and the way he's got his two teams kind of pushing him out and the way everyone talks about him in the style of football, it does look good. And this isn't me being positive, it's just how it is. Like you used the example before about your business, if the board are saying, we've changed our approach 3 times or twice, we want a guy who's not going to be a yes man, but just does the coaching, he's going to be happy with the players we bring him, then if it's like a company situation where you give him better players and we give him the striker we need and the centre-backs we need, then that's a good platform to go off. So, yeah, man, I just think it's a risk. And it doesn't work, Chelsea fan will go into meltdown more than we see now. So, it's actually hit or miss. If they don't get it right, then it's not even on them. That's understatement. But you know what I mean? It really is curtains. Because at the end of the day, you decided to get rid of Poch, so you better get it right. But yeah, man.
Yeah, no, I hear one that. Listen, I know a lot of people are bantering Chelsea because they're linked to McKenna, but I'll be honest with you, when Man United were linked to him, I said very similar things to yourself. It didn't make me I didn't feel worried or panicked by it. There's definitely question marks. Can he handle the Premier League? Does it translate? Is he ready? And these are legitimate challenges. But part of me, I'm not thinking like it's the worst appointment in the world. I don't think it's disastrous. I don't think it's. This is a manager that sort of 5-6 years ago, there was lots of stories and articles by football people being written, and he was being spoken about as someone that will manage top 6 teams in the Premier League. He's very highly regarded in the footballing world. So people have got to do their research into him. He hasn't just appeared from absolutely nowhere. And what he's done with
that, Terry, also, like, so you know what it is as well? What confuses me is the manager market is poor for everyone. But like, it just seems like our clubs in particular, people are noticing our clubs more because of the size of our clubs, right? But at the end of the day, aren't Bayern Munich getting company? Don't Liverpool have Arne Slot? These guys aren't established managers that are out there. Don't Spurs have Postecoglou, who came in from Scotland and Australia, and they got them top 4 challenge in 5th league. That I'm not saying that's an achievement. My point is that all of these managers are unproven at the top level. So it's very easy to nitpick and go, oh, well, Amarin's won this and RDZ's done that. But at the end of the day, they're all in the same bracket. They're all inexperienced. So it's like, in my opinion, we're all going to have to take leaps and risks in this decision making. It's not going to be like a guaranteed choice. The guaranteed choices are options people don't want to go for because either they're outdated, there's a lot of things that come with them, they want instant success. And all right, Are our clubs at that stage yet? Probably not. So you probably are looking for a kind of like not inexperienced guy, but a new guy to come with your team and to grow the team. And obviously, it's a risk that's never been done for our football clubs in terms of what you're looking for. Big up Don, big up Andrew as well. But at the end of the day, it's a risk that needs to be done because Roman was deteriorating, Terry. 2017 onwards, we were going backwards. So when the change was happening 2 years ago, I was here for it. I'm not happy with the direction they went in originally with the old players, Koulibaly, Sterling's. But now they're going for the young approach. I hear it. But guess what? They have to get it right. And if they don't, I'll be the first one to say I was wrong. Because I'm backing them to make the right decision. Do you get it?
No, mate, listen, I hear you on that. And I love how people in the comments that Terry's just gaslighting everyone. The word gaslighting, I honestly believe, is being overused in 2024. You know, this is, you know, it's an opinion. And gaslighting doesn't work when I'm saying I like these three things about a manager, while at the same time stating, but these are my concerns regarding them. That's not what a gaslighter does. Someone who's gaslighting makes you challenge your own perception of reality. That isn't challenging the reality. It's addressing the reality by looking at pros and cons.
You know what the irony is, Terry? The people that are saying you're gaslighting are the ones that are trying to gaslight about Kieran McKenna being a bad coach. They're the ones that are actually gaslighting, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's no balance to it whatsoever. And no one's sitting here and saying this is Pep 2.0. No one is making that claim about him or De Zerbi or anybody. But this idea that when people say the manager market's a joke, I think that term's being overused. I think it's being far. It's not that it's bad. It's that we're just going for a period where there's 3 or 4 managers in the world that are of the elite level that are winning everything. So nobody else is winning these trophies. Tennis went through this where suddenly you had 3 guys that were winning everything. It didn't mean everybody that was underneath them was awful tennis players. There was just 3 that were better, that were predominantly winning everything. And what will eventually start to happen is some of these other managers now that are the up-and-comers will start winning these major trophies. And in 5 or 6 years' time, we're going to look at their CVs and go, oh, look what he's won. As I said earlier, people are gassing up Gasperini. He's a very good manager. Deserve credit for what he's done. But he's 66 years old and just won his first trophy. And people are going, what phase is he in? Well, he's in about phase 422. He's 66. Do you know what I mean? I saw someone actually messaging me yesterday saying, what phase are Atalanta in? Well, they've had this manager and board and everybody in place now for 8 years. So you tell me what phase they're in. It's all just becoming, everyone just tries to shit on everybody else's opinions now rather than having objective conversations about things. And it's just annoying to me.
No one was talking about Gasperini until they beat Liverpool this season. Let's face it. You know what I mean? No one was talking about him.
And he's very, very good. And he's a very, very talented manager. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't be given praise, but I feel like it's all just become a little bit much. Don, we haven't actually spoke the last few days, really. I know you've been sort of busy guy working. Obviously, manager's been sacked, which I know you wanted, but you're linked heavily with Mckenna, a few other managers as well. But today, the media is really pushing the Mckenna story. How do you personally feel about him coming in?
Bro, do you know what? For me, the first sort of feeling I get is Potter vibes. If I'm looking at it from a closed-minded perspective, right? Because obviously the main concern for me is just dealing with the pressure of managing at Chelsea. That's the main thing for me because I feel like Potter just crumbled under the pressure, right? But I have said at the same time, even before any of this happened, was that if Potter had the team that Poch had this year, I reckon he would have done a lot better than Poch because the team that he walked into was a complete mess. And the profile players that we had just didn't really suit what he was trying to do. Because if you remember last season, bro, our defense was good. You know, we were creating some good patterns here and there. But when we got to that final third, Havertz is missing. Sterling's missing. Mount's missing. That was our main problem. We only scored 37 goals last season. But I honestly think if Potter had this team this year, it does a lot better, you know? But I'll be real, like, from a lot of people that I've spoken to, because I don't know much about Mckenna. I haven't watched a single Ipswich game, right? I need to do a lot more research, yeah? A lot of people have told me that he's a good coach. I've kind of looked at his philosophy, how he likes to play and whatnot. And I do look at him, like Ches has said, I don't see him as someone who's incompetent or looks like a timid sort of individual. And it's a similar sort of thing I said about Ange before Ange came in. I didn't watch a single Celtic game under Ange. But I said, when I look at Ange, I don't look at a guy that looks incompetent, you know? And one of the main things that I've spoken about with Poch is how he's struggled to get the basics right. I honestly think if we all went to Chelsea together, Terry, we'll do a better job than Poch, yeah? Because we're not going to be playing Ben Chilwell left wing, You know what I'm saying? Or playing Levi Cole left back, where we can see him getting cooked week after week after week after week. So for me, like I've said, the main concern that I've got is just the little intangibles in the game. In terms of the coaching aspect, I do think he will do better than Poch. I think he's a little bit more tactically switched on, I would say. For me, my number one, you guys know, is De Zerbi. So I still want to go for De Zerbi. But I'm not going to completely shut down Mckenna because it's not a sexy name. It's not a fancy name. Again, I'm going to do more research around, what he can bring to the team and whatnot. But for me, I like the fact that they're trying to identify a coach that's going to suit the players that we've got and what we're trying to do going forward. Similar to what what Arsenal did with Arteta. When he first came in, remember what everyone was saying about this guy? He's just picking up the cones for Pep. He's just going to be learning on the job. And now look at them, because they found the manager that fitted with what they were trying to do. And that's what Chelsea are trying to do at the minute. We're not just trying to go get an Amorim that doesn't suit the players that we've got. We're not just trying to go for Conte because he's a winning manager when it doesn't suit the players that we've got. So for me, we just need to make sure that we get a like for like, bro. And then we move from there. You know what I mean? But I've got concerns around the pressure aspect of the job if he's not getting the results, But bro, if he comes in and plays the football that he's been playing at Ipswich, because I've seen highlights and whatnot, I've seen all the clips. Omari's been killing it over there with the better players that we've got. Similar sort of thing as with De Zerbi. He could cook. You know what I mean? I'm open to it. I can't lie. I'm open to it. If he gets hired, I'm not going to start protesting and going to the bridge and holding banners. Put it that way. I don't think he's the worst guy to be bringing in all honesty. But again, I would go for De Zerbi if it was up to me, innit?
Yeah, I mean, I do get you on De Zerbi. The thing with Chelsea is right now, and this is not me trying. Again, I'd like him at United. There's just there isn't even a whisper of De Zerbi in Chelsea right now, which I find interesting. I know the bookies have him as favourite, but there isn't one credible journalist or media outlet that's mentioned Chelsea and him in the same breath, which I find interesting because I thought Chelsea would be all over it. But maybe that is because he wants these. If he does want the control over transfers in terms of I want to pick you, I buy, then it makes complete sense why Chelsea wouldn't go near him. So KJ, you were about to jump in there, mate.
Yeah, I wouldn't be happy if Mckenna joined Chelsea, to be honest. I think he's a very good manager. And I think Chelsea will be a very difficult place for a young manager to work in, to be fair. Because just for the main fact of they've already put out that the main thing they want from their next manager for next season is top 4 and a trophy. So for Mckenna to go in there and to be expected top 4 straight away after he's got to deal with obviously the new playing style with these new players, everything clicking together, and then it may not click. I think that would be a bit too much of it for him. Whereas, say if it was a Brighton where they're not expected to do much, maybe get Europe if they can. Even a Man United where we're rebuilding, where to be honest, next season we're not expected to do anything. It's easier for you to then to grow into the role and grow into the job, and your potential can be seen a lot more. At Chelsea, the one thing I fear for him at Chelsea, not because I don't think he's a good coach, I think he's a very good coach. I just don't think I don't believe he'll get the time, especially from the fan base. Like I know Ches, Andrew, and Don, mate, they might give him time and they might be patient, but the wider fan base of Chelsea, they're not going to do that, in my opinion. If things go wrong,
the thing, I hear that point of view, bro. But honestly, bro, like I said, with Poch, he did such a bad job tactically, and some of the things that he was doing, bro, when people were saying get this guy out in September, as much as I wanted him in, I couldn't even defend him because I could clearly see why they wanted him out and the mistakes that he was making.
But Don, question.
And that's where it goes back. And that's where it goes back to
McKenna. Can I add on the subject as well, please?
And that's where it goes back to McKenna just before you come in, Like you've said, KJ, you rate him as a coach. You think he's a good manager. I don't look at him and think he's going to make the same basic mistakes that Poch was making, because that's where the patience ran out with Poch. He kept messing up. If Poch was playing like how he was the last 5 games towards the start of the season, but we wasn't picking up results, there'll be a lot more people defending Poch because they can clearly see what he's doing. KJ, run out of patience because there wasn't anything. It was chaotic football.
Dick, one sec, KJ. What I would say to your point is, you make a good point, but what I don't like is when people tell Chelsea fans what they should do and what they shouldn't do. You know why I say that? Because you're saying we won't give him patience, right? We gave Poch patience, but guess what? We were mid-table for half the season. Now, if De Zerbi comes in and you're mid-table half the season, he turns it around, you're going to hear him and you're going to give him time, but at the end of the day, he had objectives, and he knew what he was getting into. So if McKenna comes in, McKenna comes in, he knows what the remit is. There's no excuse. So if he's poor,
I get that, but
Yeah. So I was wanting to say one thing. I'll say, Ches, I get where you're coming from, but you just set a really interesting precedent for yourself on the terrace. I don't want to hear you tell any club or any fans what they should think or feel ever again now. Because you said it pisses you off when people tell Chelsea fans what they should
I never said it pisses me off. I never use those words. So you said that.
You just said it annoys you. Did you not say it annoys you when people tell Chelsea fans what to do?
I didn't say it. I just said it's funny how like people are telling me. Look, KJ's overall point was about the fans. I was talking about the fans. He was saying your fans won't have.
Yeah, but you just said it, and didn't you say something to the words to the?
No, I was saying KJ's talking about the fans, so I'm telling him you can't say that about the fans because not all fans think the same.
But I swear you just said something to the effect of, and I'm just having a bit of a joke here, but you said something to the effect of, it annoys me when people tell Chelsea fans what they should do. I swear you said that. Or am I tripping?
No, I'm pretty sure you said that.
No,
I think you said that.
You might not have used the words pissed off, but if it annoys you, winds you up, frustrates you, it's all means.
I need to respond. I need to respond to both of them.
KJ, sorry.
Go on, bro.
I'm not even saying, because down to your points, like, am I assuming that he's going to get things wrong and make the same mistakes as Poch? I'm not even saying that. I'm saying even if things are going right, and you are still mid-table, even if he's doing the things that he wants to do and he's not making the mistakes, and you're still mid-table, that's when I'm questioning the patience of Chelsea fans, because I'm not a person that, because again, I think he's a good coach. I don't necessarily think things will go wrong because he's making mistakes. I think things will go wrong because it just takes, some things just take time. A system takes time. Players take time.
KJ, let's face it, right?
Yeah.
The word patience doesn't exist at the top 6 club. It just doesn't exist, okay?
Right.
Even fans, ownership, it just doesn't exist. But football fans, we're so hypocritical and easy to please. If Mckenna signs up and he wins 6 out of the first 8 games and 2 draws, you're going to see fans in the chat going, give him an extension of his contract already. He knows what Chelsea are all about. And then he loses the next 5 games. Worst Chelsea manager in our history.
Let me add to that as well. Yeah, because last season, bro, KJ, there's this thing about Chelsea fans being impatient because obviously we've seen a lot of managers, over the years with Roman. Cool, understandable. But last season with Potter, I've never seen so many Chelsea fans giving this guy patience. Even match-going fans. Yeah, we wasn't booing this guy until the end. Before he got
That's
sacked.
because of his sweet fade. And
I started coming on the terrace last season, and when I was coming on, I was defending this man when he wasn't picking up results. I was speaking to Terry, bro. I was telling Terry, yo, what the hell is Graham Potter supposed to do when we've got everyone injured and we're working with C team players that need to be on their way out? We went to Newcastle with a front 3 of Gallagher, Mount, and Broja. Yeah, that's what we was working with, right? And for me, I was like, bro, as of January onwards, I need to see this guy pick up because we're gonna make new signings and people are coming back. That's when I lost my patience after that, when things still didn't change. But honestly, bro, Graham Potter, he even got patience from the owners. We lost to Southampton, bottom of the league, still bottom when they beat us, didn't get sacked. We lost to Spurs, didn't get sacked. He got a lot of patience.
What I would say about patience as well is this style of play is really important. And I think if you're entertained, then it helps. But what I find really interesting is Man United fans and Chelsea fans have probably been the 2 most vocal at criticizing Arsenal in the Arteta era, and both our clubs might just be about to go down the exact same path of bringing in either brand new or very, very inexperienced managers and building and or managing young squads.
Hey, you know what? On that point,
life comes at you fast sometimes, don't it? Life comes at you quick.
Bro, it's a bit different, Terry. I'll tell you why. Tell you why it's different. Because I'm more.
Look at Matt, bruv.
Not really.
Matt's showing teeth. Matt, stop showing your teeth, bro.
You guys are sipping his coke.
Terry, it's a bit different. I'll tell you what. I don't mock Arsenal for getting Arteta and doing this process. I mock them for not winning trophies on the way. That's what I say. I say, even with process, you still need to win. So, for example, if Potts won a Carabao Cup, I said yesterday's stream he'd probably stay. People said to me no, but he still would have won a trophy. So it's still a certain level.
No, I do get that. That element chairs, I understand. I'm talking more about when he came in, this is crazy. It will never work. Youth projects are stupid. You need a manager of experience. That element is why I ask questions, but with these things, like when the Saudis were taking over Newcastle, people were like, Terry, do you think it's right because of all these reasons?
Yeah.
And I sort of said, one of my biggest responses that I gave all the time was, I'm not condemning it. Because, yeah, when you say things out loud, it sounds bad. But if Man United get taken over by Saudis tomorrow, am I going to stop supporting my club? No. Therefore, I'm a hypocrite. When everyone was moaning about the World Cup being in Qatar, I said to KJ the whole time, I said, I get people's arguments. So, but if I get the opportunity to go out there, I'm going, and I did. Imagine I spent 6 months slagging it off, and then I get an opportunity to go out there and I go. I just don't like doing that. Matt's here with us. Matt hasn't spoke yet. What are you saying, Matt, about these two big stories today? De Zerbi potentially to Man United and Mr. Mckenna to Chelsea.
Yeah, no, I'm just hearing all of the points, and I think Mckenna to Chelsea is an interesting one in that, like, he's very new to the manager scene. He's done quite well at Ipswich. I'd like him to stay at Ipswich and see if he can keep them up in the Premier League next season, like, and then kind of look forward from there and kind of see what his options are. Because I kind of think him moving to Chelsea, it's kind of a bit too early in his career, I think. Like, we saw what happened to Graham Potter. He moved to Chelsea, and it was too big of a step for him, I think. And now we're talking about McKenna, who's just been promoted from the Championship. So I'm not really too sure about that. Like, I think on Chelsea's side, it might look a little bit more positive, but from McKenna's point of view, I think it just might be a bit too early for him. I think De Zerbi to Man United is very interesting as well, because I actually thought De Zerbi was either off to AC Milan or he's joining Chelsea. So I didn't actually expect, links to Man United. Like, I've not really got that much news on him, really. I like in terms of what I think of him.
If we get De Zerbi, I think it'd be good, because he's a good manager. But the one worry I have, it's the same worry that I had with Tuchel, is the line of he wants more control of transfers. That's the one thing I'm worried about, because Ineos are clearly trying to go through something similar like Chelsea, where they want a manager to input into transfers but not be the sole driver of who we sign. And if that is the case, for me, it don't make sense that we're going for De Zerbi if he definitely wants this control, because obviously at Brighton, he didn't have that control at Brighton. That's why he had to re-sign Welbeck on another extension.
KJ, let me just on that about De Zerbi and control. Yeah, I get obviously every manager is going to want their own players, but if Ineos are going down the route of hiring him because they feel that he can play the brand of football that they want to play, same thing as Chelsea, then ultimately, doesn't that mean that they're going to be looking at players that he would like? If that makes sense. So he won't be kicking up a fuss.
The thing is, like, we had this discussion before, like, where you're saying, like, if you sign for Chelsea, it's like you've got players that would fit his system, that we think that fit his system.
Yeah, it's not like we've got Bear Gallagher's in the team, bro. It's not like
you've got certain players, but I just still believe that just because we think players and managers will work well together, and if manager came in, he would want this player, that player, doesn't mean that's the case. Because when Ten Hag came to United, we were thinking Martial going to start every game. We were thinking Sancho's going to cook. We were thinking it's going to be the end of McTominay, the end of Maguire. All these different players. Different. No, but it's not though, is it?
It is, because he changed his principles. If Ten Hag remained with the principles that he came with from Ajax and played the brand of football that you expected him to play, he would have played those players the way.
But the thing is, that's what he did. So who's to say
he changed his principles? You think De Zerbi will change his principles? Is my point.
But I don't know. I've gone past the point of being sure that a manager will like X player and this player.
So KJ,
you've got PTSD then.
I get what KJ's saying about the style. I don't think Borrada and co will make that mistake. I think they will if they bring a manager in, it will be for we'll bring a manager in to play the style that we want, and it will match theirs. I think that will all work. I agree with KJ though on the control element. If he wants to be at Man United because he wants control over transfers, it isn't going to work. Because I don't want a manager that's got control. I want the club to decide who we're bringing in, and the manager has an input. However, I said it earlier on in the show, I don't know if you guys were watching, you maybe didn't hear, I'll repeat myself. is if the control he wanted at Brighton was, please stop selling the players. I want to build a team because I want to win. I'm all for that. So I actually went back and looked over the last few years of players that they've got rid of, just in the last 3 years. Ben White and Dan Burn, Kukureya Basuma, who was cooking for them, and Trossard, Caicedo, McAllister, Robert Sanchez. And people genuinely telling me if those players would have stayed and what they added to it, Brighton wouldn't be in a much better position than they are this season. If you took, I'm not saying they're the best players in the world. If you took that quality each season, 3 years running, out of City and Arsenal in the last 3 years, every season, 2 or 3 of your best players leave and you don't replace them with like for like, you telling me they're both top of the...
Bro, they think it's Jesus, bro. They think it's Jesus, bro. I'm telling you.
No, you know the difference is also, for the first time in many years, the players they brought in to replace those that left haven't hit the ground running as well. Basuma left, Caicedo came in, and stuff like that. It's just it's caught up with them a little bit, you know. So it's just one of those.
It's similar to like what's going on with Company at the minute, because I'm seeing obviously he's getting slandered. And for me, listen, I get people's point of view about Bayern being a big step. It's like, oh, how have you got Burnley relegated now, and you've got a big job like that. But honestly, I've spoken about it on a few like top sixes we've done this year, Terry, in terms of how Company plays. Because I said for me, I think this guy would have done a better job than Poch, right? When I've watched Burnley this season, yeah, honestly, it's the same story. Even against United, when they played United the other week, the beating the press, they do all of that well. You know, they build nicely from back to front. They get in that final third, and honestly, it's like they all freeze. The left winger freezes, the right winger freezes. Fofana came in for a little bit, had a little bit of a purple patch, but ultimately that final third just isn't good enough. So for me, how I look at it is, I can see what he's doing, but it's just the quality overall isn't there, right? But if he goes and plays the same way with Musiala, Harry Kane, Sane, Gnabry, all of these guys, I can see them winning a lot more games and doing a lot better, right? Because the principles of how he's playing the game and what he's drilling into the players is good, and they have the quality to do it. Burnley looked amazing in the Championship, like you've said already, Terry. But again, that's against lesser quality. When they've come to the Prem, these guys, they weren't able to handle it, bro. And it's a similar sort of thing as De Zerbi. I think with better quality, he will do better, because how he plays, bro, is brilliant football. But that sort of football, you need quality, bro. It's risky football, so you need the top players to do it.
Question, I agree. Go on, question, then we'll go to the super chats. Go on, mate.
Okay. Who, out of the two, obviously they've both been linked to us, who would you rather have Mckenna and De Zerbi?
De Zerbi.
De Zerbi.
Yeah.
I go with De Zerbi, and the biggest reason would be experience. He just has that more, and I know he hasn't won any major trophies yet. I mean, he would have won the Ukrainian league had the war not broken out, you know. Yeah. But yeah, I would take De Zerbi over him. My one concern with McKenna is it's 2 years experience and none in the Premier League, which I think is fair. Yeah. But I wouldn't cry over either of them. By the way, I'd take them both. You know, seven days a week and twice on a Sunday over Southgate.
Oh, 100%. What I would say, right, is Adonis going to be really happy with this, right? But if De Zerbi goes to Chelsea, Mykhailo Mudryk, he's going to be cooking. Yeah, he's going to be cooking.
He's managed him before. Bro, he's managed him before. You get me? He can help man like Mykhailo, you know?
This is going to sound...
I like what McKenna's done with Omari Hutchinson, man, because this guy was just bagging every single week for the 23s before we loaned him out. And then he gets them promoted, bro. What you're saying? He's only been a manager for 2 years and back-to-back promotions.
I watched the video. So yesterday, I watched this video by who was it? Was it HTIC Sport or something like that? But they did a video, like half an hour video on McKenna and Ipswich and how they rose up to where they are now. And I'm watching it and I'm seeing the things that they're saying of the changes that he made to them as a football club. Like one of the things they did last season was they improved their pitch. Like McKenna got them to improve their pitch to make sure that it can play the football they want to play. And they lost like one home game all season, on that pitch. Like it's all these little things I'm seeing. Like he's changed. He helped improve their academy and their training grounds and all these different systems that Ipswich were missing. McKenna came in and helped change. This is why I'm sitting there. I'm like, I actually want him at United because I feel like one, he's been at the club already. So he already understands the pressure that comes with it. Two, he's worked underneath multiple managers at the club. So again, he understands what will come of being Man United manager. Three, he would know how to. Well, you would hope that what his knowledge of rebuilding would apply to Man United in terms of he knows most of these players as well. He knows most of them need to go. He can get rid of most of them. He knows how to improve players. He knows what things in Carrington need to change.
Does he like using the youth from the academy?
Yeah,
Does he like
yeah. He used to manage us.
He managed the youth.
So, he won the league.
That's the element.
And that's something Chelsea are looking for at the minute as well.
Chelsea are looking, and that's why if he comes to United, part of me thinks, oh, him working again with the likes of Kobe. He's I look at like Garnacho. He was the guy that was developing Garnacho, and then since McKenna's not been there, Garnacho's improved slightly, but I think about him working with those young players, and it is exciting. There's a comment here actually from an Ipswich fan. It says, I'm an Ipswich fan. I feel McKenna can walk on water, praying we get one more season out of him, as it's our best chance of survival.
Are you just saying that, buddy? Are you just saying that, buddy?
This here says De Zerbi to United. That is this from Jerome. That is a good match. He could be everything. He could bring everything back.
Ansu Fati
to United. Yeah. How do you think Don De Zerbi would do at Man United with what we're about to go through?
Bro, same sort of take as where it is at Chelsea. I think you guys are a little bit behind in terms of just your rebuild. Because I look at your team, I think you don't need a mass clear out. Whereas with us, I think we need a little bit more of a shape up. But honestly, bro, I think he can bring in a style of play. Like I said, whether that can win you stuff is yet to be seen. But you're in a similar situation to us. You need to build that foundation first. People are trying to move into the yard without building the yard first. And I'm like, bro, we're not ready right now to be, winning trophies consistently. If Chelsea were in a position where we've been challenging for the league, winning all these trophies, and then we're bringing in McKenna, then I'll be a little bit more closed-minded. But we're not there yet. And it's a similar sort of thing as United. You need to start from the beginning, build that foundation, and then go from there. And I think, honestly, De Zerbi can do that for you guys, man. Honestly. Maybe even pick up a trophy on the way there as well.
Just got to get through it. Go on, mate. Just make your point, and then we'll do the next one.
If you don't win the FA Cup, which probably doesn't look like you're going to, you finish 8th, right? So you're out of Europe. So this summer is the actual chance to do a mass clear out of your squad with any new manager to come in. You don't have Europe. You have once a week. Should be good for you. Gets a new manager to settle in. My theory is, though, that I don't think you'll get rid of the players that most Man United fans want to get rid of. You'll keep them, and that's the problem. They're the ones who should be moved out, like a Luke Shaw, for example, someone like that. They should go. But De Zerbi might do well. I think he'll be good for someone like Kobe Mino. If Garnacho, if Southgate went there, he would overplay them both. Do you know what I mean?
I hear you on that. Nigel here says Chelsea have sacked so many managers. It's a wonder Brendan Rodgers hasn't been hired and fired.
Chelsea have made a lot of mistakes, and I think McKenna is a big way of trying to rectify that mistake.
Yeah, Terry, he walks away from Brighton. Standard FC should be praising him. Oh, sorry, we've done that one, but yeah, they won't, will they? Is the manager market really poor, or is it just that most of the recent managers are some of the best ever, which makes the next manager look poor? I think, Jamie, I think it is a bit. I think what you've got is this. There's a gap. You've got some really experienced, huge winners, and then you've got a lot of new managers. If that makes sense, it's kind of where you are.
I'll tell you what it is, Terry. It's the Xavi Alonso effect. Clubs want lightning in a bottle. That's what they want right now. They want their own versions, and to a lesser extent, like a bit what Arteta's done. That's the new vogue now. There's no, like you said, there's no middle ground.
I don't think it's clubs. I think it's fans. Fans want it, and they put pressure. Okay, and the pressure's there. No, I agree. Was McKenna coaching United when they finished second? Yes, he was.
Yep.
McKenna is given the green light to Chelsea now. I personally think Fabregas would be really interesting.
Yeah. Bring him as well, man. I want it back room as well with him, bro.
No, he's coming to Arsenal. What you want about Don?
No way, man.
He
was at Cobham the other day, bro. You get me? Yeah, we're bringing him.
Why would he not go to a more successful English club? Why would he go back to Arsenal? He's more successful.
Arsenal were the one that gave him the chance.
Yeah. So guys, let me just get through these super chats. I'm running out of time, guys, and I've got to go. A lot of these fans will need to come to terms with the fact that the football has rapidly changed from what they're used to. Some Standard FC with grandiose ideals from the past will struggle to adapt. Look, I think there's a lot of truth in that. And as I said earlier, if me and Don start in the gym today and we set up a thing, who's going to get the 8-pack first? Who's going to be able to bench the most? Who's going to be able to squat the most? But we're both going to train at the same time every day and eat the same food every day. But the one differential is that I'm taking steroids and Don isn't. The expectation of Don getting into shape and lifting as much as me as quick as me is wrong. So when your club goes for a young and inexperienced manager and you're building a young squad together, you should have the expectations and standards to get to the top. But the time scale of getting there has got to be different. You should give expectations based on the reality. And if Kieran Mckenna goes to United or Chelsea, he's going to make mistakes. He is not going to be the finished article straight away. If you say, I'm backing him, it means you back him through that adversity. It doesn't mean you back him until you realize he's not as good as Pep year one. That is what needs to happen more in football. People have got to be more realistic. Would you rather Mckenna than Maresca or Frank? I don't know enough about Maresca, if I'm being honest with you. Thomas, I would take Mckenna over Thomas Frank. Yes, I would personally, for the reason KJ gave. It's actually smart to hire a manager who's just promoted. The playing style is made for win and to dominate. Usually the problem is for promoted clubs. I hear you on that. That's a really good point. Arteta has Edu and Vinay. Who does Mckenna have? Could it just be the board wants someone they can control? I mean, look, but clubs should be controlling their managers.
Yeah.
At the end of like Edu and Vinay control Arteta. Pep is controlled by his board to a certain degree. Like the wording you're using and the language you're using, like yes men and puppets and being controlled, tries to make like you're taking their manhood away.
Yeah, man.
Guardiola didn't know who Doku was when they signed him, but he trusts the team that are around him. At the end of the day, you could look at it this way. KJ is a yes man to me. If you want to be horrible about it, because KJ will give me his opinion. If I say, no, this is what we're doing because I'm the boss, it happens. But he's not a yes man. He's not a puppet. He's not a clown. He has an opinion. He isn't controlled by me. But you can literally twist it. Everyone who's employed in the world, you could call a yes man, a puppet, and controlled. But that's it's just your way of being derogatory.
Sorry,
it's ridiculous.
The thing is, yeah, listen, bro, like, I've seen it at my club where we've given managers too much control, yeah, and it didn't help us. That's why we ended up having a mass clear out. You've literally seen it as well, where you're bringing in Mourinho players, you're bringing in mismanager players. Bro, we had Sarri players, Lampard players, Tuchel players, all in one team. It doesn't work, yeah. Your manager, your head coach, whatever, to be working hand in hand with the ownership. You know what I'm saying? As long as they're doing the right things.
Yes, absolutely. And Sean said right, it's emotive language. It's a great word for it. It's just I mean, I've literally seen people say things like employees are slaves. I'm like, oh my, I hate that kind of view. It makes me feel sick. It's like you're actually diminishing what that word means, brother, and the history of it. It's like, stop.
It's cringe, man. It's cringe.
Oh, it's disgusting. Arteta to not that super chat. That comment I just made. Arteta to replace Pep. Thoughts? Listen, wouldn't it be ironic if Standard FC get what they want and Arteta gets sacked at the end of this season and then City hire him and he goes on to win everything? I'd die with laughter. Look, I want to thank everyone who tuned in. If you don't want to miss any of our streams or any of the up and coming transfer news, join the Telegram group chat now. Scan the QR code or click on the link that's in our description. I'll repost it in the comment section too, because notifications are dead when it comes to YouTube. So get in that group chat. You'll never miss any of our streams. To the panel, thank you. To all my super chatters, thank you. We're back at 6 p.m. for the top 6 show tonight. So make sure you're all there. I think it's going to be an energetic one with all this managerial news going on. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again.